on today, 4.7 billion migrant hotel bill takes every penny in tax from a workforce the size of the city of Manchester. Let's start with that. I mean, that is, we can all sit here, right, and we can go on and on about, like, this is ludicrous. Something is going to give in this country. I don't care what anybody says, man.
You simply cannot ask people to accept the cuts to their public services as this government is doing and accept the rises in their tax as this government is doing whilst you keep this in place. You need to be able to show people, to demonstrate to people that you're bringing these bills down and that you're reducing the number of people who are coming to the country that are requiring this. If you don't do that, you're not going to win the next election. It's really straightforward. This is at the top of everybody's list of priorities. Not being in London for a very long time, I've had a lot of opportunities to talk to people outside of London.
Yep.
You know, the normal people that the Westminster media constantly tell us that they know exactly who they are. And it doesn't matter if they're Tory voters, Labour voters, Lib Dems, Greens. I'm talking all people. Migration is on the top of everybody's agenda.
I said it 3 years ago and everybody laughed at me and said, no, it's number 3. I don't believe it. And I'll tell you why I don't believe it. I don't believe it because I think we've reached this moment where, and I thought James Price nailed it earlier when he said that we've always been this sort of sympathetic, reasonable, morally balanced nation that tries to do the right thing. We're skint and we cannot do the right thing compassionately by our own people. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you decide that growth, economic growth, is not so important and that you're going to prioritise other things, sooner or later you are going to run out of the abilities to do those other things because you need money. If we want to turn ourselves into the world's largest migrant hotel, we can do that if you have the money for it. But you know what we don't have? The money for that, or any of the other things that we actually want. And this is, of course, the main thing, as much as people like James Price will point out correctly that this, one of the great things about this country's culture, which we're often told we're not really allowed to talk about, you're only allowed to talk about it in terms of diversity, but is, as you say, tolerance. And that actually stems from not wanting to interfere in other people's business.
Don't you think it's apologising for the past?
Well,
I don't think it's about time we stopped apologising for the past and stopped apologising to everybody and looked after our own.
I'd actually prefer people properly remembered what the past was, for a start. The whole, apologising for things. It turns out often we apologise for things that never happened as much as anything else. There is this perception that the British Empire was uniquely evil in the history of the world. Except, of course, when you compare it to every other empire or civilization that's ever existed, at which point, oh, actually, it looks quite good. But we never have that conversation because that's problematic, and then it's talking about other people's cultures not being as good as ours, and that is, of course, not very tolerant. But I would prefer it if we did that. But honestly, the fact of the matter is people in this country don't like to stick their noses into other people's business. That's where a lot of our tolerance comes from. It's not that we're come and everybody have a great old time. It's that's your business. That's nothing to do with me. So I'm not going to